political refugee, America welcomed him and his family with open arms, and he is very grateful for that. Rolando is now a well-established businessman and scientist. His company provides services to multinational corporations. He experienced communism and socialism in Cuba and is aware of the similarities countries like Venezuela with events that are occurring here in America, and has decided to form Bear Witness Central to warn Americans about the perils of socialism and communism. Bear Witness Central is a communication and action group composed of Americans who have experienced socialism and or communism intervention during their lifetime, joined by other concerned Americans. They are a nonpartisan group, and their objective is to labor to safeguard our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the American way of life. They provide information and support other groups who are involved in taking back our country. Let's give a warm welcome to Rolando Perez.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for the introduction. I guess I don't have to say anything else. Well, as she said, I'm American of Cuban descent, and I left my country when I was 15 years old. And you may ask yourself, what am I doing here, and why am I talking to you, and why did I start Bear Witness? Well, I lost my country 50 years ago, over 50 years ago, to communism. Okay? And I don't want to see this country be lost to communism also. And sadly to say that what we have seen happening in Cuba and in Venezuela is happening here in the States. In Cuba, they started picking up, taking the arms away gradually, so people could not rebel. And they're trying to do that here in the United States. In Cuba, they started taking the business away from the people. They started with big businesses, and then smaller business, and nobody has a business in Cuba anymore. Okay. Then they started taking the land. They started with the big land-owners. In Nevada, it's happening this week. You see that the news from there. So finally, in Cuba, nobody owns land. The government owns everything. So little by little, all the liberties that we had before Castro were taken away. And we see the same things in here. We're seeing that, First Amendment rights are not trampled over, and Second Amendments, and it's terrible. So it's not a thing about, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's a problem of ideology, which of course the Democrats are on the left, and mostly of them have that ideology, which is socialism, which equals to communism. Okay? So little by little, we're losing our liberties. So the current situation in the country requires that we urgently recognize two facts or points of vital importance. First, lack of necessary structure to connect with millions of Americans, Hispanics, and other minorities. Second, we need to change the strategies and implement measures not considered in the past that are very important. These 2 points have to be recognized, and the strategies and the structures should be instituted immediately before our next elections. We have a plan of action that not only will relate to Hispanics, but also to the English-speaking population in our nation. To avoid the collapse of the country under socialism and Obama's Marxist regime, and achieve a national level of information and education able to change the outcome of the elections, we suggest that conservative patriotic organizations follow a proposed plan that we have come up with. That action plan is available from our website, uwcentral.org. The country needs a clean, transparent, and legally verifiable electoral process. Unfortunately, this is not the case now. We see the fraudulent elections using electronic voting machines. Those machines were brought from Venezuela and under the software from Venezuela, and they have been used here. And in the news, you see so many people have voted that shouldn't be voting or voted twice. This is incredible. So we need to get rid of electronic machines. That's imperative. I don't know if that's going to be able to happen. I don't think so. Anyway, we also want to counter the growing influence of the left. We need to have necessary channels of information to do so. We need more TV channels and radio stations bringing the conservative message both in English and Spanish. An example of something that's happening, I imagine throughout the country, but I'm more aware of that's happening in Miami, is that in the past we had 3 or 4 radio stations and also TV stations that were owned by Hispanics, mainly Cubans, and were very vocal against communism, socialism, and all that. And they have been bought out by Univision. So we don't have that avenue anymore. The people that spoke in the radio were laid off. Some of them have left behind in the radio temporarily, and they were told to limit what they say. So they cannot say anything about this administration. So it's terrible. So we need to reach out to Americans of Hispanic descent with these channels of information, including our websites such as Libertad USA and our Spanish, which is our Spanish outreach project. We're trying to reach out to them with a lot of information that we have on our website. We also need to use local events of different types of to spread our message. These are events where the left is frequently represented. Those are events like art festivals, things like that. We should be more involved in those events. Currently, one of the greatest political challenges is to connect with the Hispanic community. I believe that's necessary. Hispanics are usually right-wing, if I should say that. They're family-oriented. The only problem is that the media, the left media, is getting to them, and they're getting the wrong information. And we have to change that, because otherwise, they're going to continue voting Democrat. The other thing, immigration. There's a lot of talk about reforming immigration, giving amnesty to illegals. The majority of legal Hispanics do not like that. Do not like that. And so if that is done, that doesn't mean that those Hispanics are going to vote whichever way, Republican or Democrat, depending on who's for that. So we also need to reach young people who have already been influenced by their universities providing pro-socialist education. So we need to get involved more in the universities.
Rolando, when you say a majority of the Hispanics who are here legally don't want or don't favor amnesty, do you have a number?
I don't have a number, no. I don't have a number.
And what is the basis for your position?
From reading different articles, talking to people, talking to Hispanics that are legal here, and they all say, no, we should close our border and don't give amnesty. I think 56% are against immigration. Amnesty, yeah. It is very important that the Hispanic population, but also the American population, be informed about the administration's socialist Marxist ideology, and that the implications to the future of our nation be explained. And I don't see that happening. Congress should be saying, well, this is a socialist and Marxist administration. I don't see that happening. Nobody is saying that out there. So how the population of America can understand what really is happening to America? You know, this is not that Obama doesn't know how to govern or things are not correctly. There's a purpose on everything that is being done by this administration. The purpose is to change it to a socialist and communist nation. And that's very sad. We do have an important tool that the left has given us. Okay? And that tool is Common Core.
He's what? Common Core?
Common Core education. It's indoctrinating our children, okay? But if we use Common Core to reach out to the left and the middle of America, I think we can attract them and have them, research why is this happening. If you tell your parents or grandparents what they're doing to your children with Common Core, they're really gonna try to find out what's going on. And in the process of finding out what's going on, they're gonna find all of the things that they don't know, that the media doesn't tell them. So basically, that's all I had. Just very briefly, I don't want to take too much time. I think Juan is going to be giving us a little more detail on some things that we do. Please visit our website. We have videos in there on demand, a lot of information. And check our plan of action in our website.
My question is, you're from Miami, you're Cubana, you're both Cubana. Have you traveled like in the Southwest, where you have a lot of Mexicans and Central Americans who come from a very different background than the Cubans? Have you been in other areas, and what is your perception of their understanding? My perception is most of the illegals are in the Southwest, although they everywhere. So, what have you been there? Have you spoken to that group? And the other thing I would think is what the fellow before was talking about, where the church is the way to get the message out to certainly the legal immigrants that are non-Cuban. Your thoughts?
Well, let me say that we think that illegals are not educated. We think that they're not ready to take on jobs that we have. Many illegals, they're electricians, mechanics, accountants. A lot of them are that way. I know quite a few are that way. They're working in menial, cutting the grass, or things like that, because they're illegal. They cannot, hold a job. So if we accept them and give them status that they can work and they can become citizens, they're going to be taking up a lot of jobs that we have right now. And that's something also that needs to be mentioned to the black communities and minorities that have jobs right now and they're legal. They're going to be losing a lot of those jobs. It's something to consider and say. Now, why are those illegals leaving their country? Cubans left their country because they were taken over by communism. Okay. In other countries, they're leaving because of the tyranny of the government, because of economic reasons. So there's a big variety of reasons why they're here. How to solve that situation? I'm not sure. Okay. Any other questions?
Dr. Juan Torres, who is going to be following up, is a physician who holds a great deal of respect for the history, constitution, and greatness of the United States of America. He founded the Latino American Tea Party, an organization created to inform, educate, and unite Hispanics against the growing threat of communism, socialism, and attacks to freedom of religion and principles upon which this country was founded. He also brought together several state and national organizations to form the American Hispanic Coalition. Dr. Torres' commitment to freedom and respect for the United States Constitution is reflected in his efforts to continuously inform the largest minority group in the United States using popular social media sites frequently visited by the Hispanic community. In addition, using a broad database from Bear Witness Central, Dr. Torres provides information in Spanish to several conservative and Tea Party organizations across the country. Let's give him a welcome. Thank you.
Hi everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation to Catherine, Elaine, and everybody else. If you don't hear me well, just please raise your hand and let me know. This issue about the Hispanic outreach is one of the biggest challenges in American politics. It has been like that for the last 30, 40 years, and it's getting worse and worse. What I'm going to do in the next maybe 45 minutes or so is I'm going to walk you through where we are, and then maybe give you some tips for possible solutions, because what you can do is a lot more, much more than what you think and what you know, believe me. Every time we lose an election, everybody gets upset and excited, and everybody blames everybody. And the good thing about that is that somebody makes us realize why we lost the election. That's the good part. The bad part is that despite losing elections, we keep doing the same thing. And the next election, we start complaining about what we complained the last election, thinking that the next election is going to be different, but that's not the case. And we all know that. There are many reasons why we lost the presidential election in 2008 and 2012. And most of them are true. Ronnie didn't do a good campaign, he didn't talk about Benghazi, we didn't have the media with us, and you can mention, tons of different reasons. But if you think about, there were 5 groups responsible for losing the election. 5 groups. And the reason I am mentioning this is because I want to ask yourself, as a person, as an activist, as an organization, what am I doing to make sure that those people are getting the message? There are 5 groups. I'm not talking only about Hispanics. I'm talking about Hispanics, Black people, young people, evangelical groups, right? And women. That's the reason we lost the election. Because we failed to communicate to each one of those groups. Now I see this audience here, and I ask this question everywhere I go and talk about the Hispanic issue. If somebody is Spanish, or a Hispanic descendant, first generation, second generation, please raise your hand. One person.
My children are, but I'm not.
All right. For practical purposes, one person. Living in Florida, that tells you something, right? I don't see a black person here. There's one, okay. So we have one Hispanic and one black. I am sure that most of you are believers, whether you are Catholics or non-Catholics. I have to presume that most of you are Christians, or at least you believe in God. But how many pastors are here? Pastors. We got one. All right? That's another message. I know everybody here thinks that you are young, but we are not young anymore. But how many of you, let's say, by definition, you have young and young adult. Young is about somewhere between 18 to 35. And adult, young people call it young adults, 35 to 50. Let's say from 18 to 35. Anybody here from that age range? 18 to 35. We got one person there, we got two. All right. Scott Bushman saying, I am 35, I know you very well. All right. Well, you saw the results. You saw how many people raised their hands. And that's what happened everywhere in the country, not just in Florida. We are missing to reach the people that we need to reach elections. And unless we reach those people, don't even think about winning. And the reason is because demographics are changing. Minorities are becoming majorities and vice versa. Unless you reach those people, it's very difficult to win. Let me give you some numbers about the Hispanic perspective so you know how serious this issue is. We all know that more than 50 million Hispanics live in the U.S. And that number goes up by the hour. More than 50 million. 17% of the U.S. population are Hispanics. 17%. 24 million Hispanics registered to vote in 2012. 24 million. Only half